Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people at Folgers Coffee, who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. We appreciate you so very much. Also, big mention for his contribution to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, who is the voice that you just heard on that intro. It is his music. It is his, what I like to call his genius. He is a composer, award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms, including Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and so on. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate you so much. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and the logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre and does phenomenal commission pieces. So thank you, Steve. So tonight we welcome Father Shawn Whittington. Many of you guys will know him from the hit show Eli Roth Presents, the Legion of Exorcists on Travel Channel. He also hosts his own podcast show, which we're going to be on tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, you have to go check out our pages to see where. And his show is called Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. And we've both done the show before. Shawn is just awesome. He probably saw him on Horsefly Chronicles. Also, The Missing Piece with Trish Moe. I think Trish was on his show last week. So definitely, we're a pretty tight-knit group, and he is really wonderful. So I see people slowly chiming in. Guys, remember that we do stream simultaneously to 8 different platforms. Every one of them has a chat room except for Roku TV. That one does not have any sort of chat room. So you'll all have to file in here. So thank you. And Amelia, how's it going?
Hi. Allergies. Allergies. I was there with the t-shirt. I'm listening and I'm like, are you serious right now?
It's not
man, as soon as I turn the fan on, I'm like, oh my gosh.
If you start snorkeling halfway through the show, we'll know it's not like a possession or attachment or anything. It's just an allergy. Because we've got like Shawn here and he can take care of business.
But we're not too bad ourselves.
No.
But you would know. You would know if anything was different. No, it just it's that time of year, right? We're heading into. I mean, we are in summer, but we're heading into full-blown allergy season.
I know. But hey, 1st of July for Canada on, this coming
happy birthday, Canada. Can you see my flag?
I know. And the 4th of July for everybody south of the border. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up. So, it's going to be great. I'm happy to see that we're in the swing of things, but it's also the time where people travel and you have to be really careful. But we want to see everybody back here next week. Just saying, we want to see everybody over at Father Shawn Whittington show tomorrow. So check out. We've been sharing it up everywhere as well. So, check it out because it'll be a lot of fun and probably a spin-off of where we are now. Just maybe a little bit of a reversal. So without further ado, our special guest is here and let's bring him on. Hello.
Was our interview tonight?
It's tomorrow.
Is it really an interview when you're among friends, or are we just having a bit of a parlay?
I have a note for myself right here next to my screen that says, "Don't ask any questions."
Oh, that's hard, right?
I gotta. My mind has to be set on
answering.
Yes.
You're in the hot seat tonight.
Tomorrow night, I put your guys' feet to the fire.
There we go.
Tonight,
I always enjoy that.
Seat, right? So this is it. It's all about you tonight. And we've been looking forward to this. So we love turning the table. I
learned something new just sitting in the green room waiting to come on. Amelia, you are in Canada?
Yeah.
I forgot that. And I also didn't know that July 1st was your guys' Independence Day. So that's cool.
Well, it's Canada's birthday.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very
cool. Are we really independent?
Let's not go there. That's a whole other show that we're going to get ripped off YouTube for if we go there.
Well, no, I'm saying we're all part of the Commonwealth. So, you know what I mean? It's a little bit different, much like Australia.
Isn't that a shame, guys? You know how many? I probably had a handful. I want to say a half a dozen shows. I tried not to get back in the day when we're, back when things were really, really crazy, as if they aren't still. But a few years back, I did some shows, and I didn't mean to get. I really tried my best not to get political. I really tried my best not to get into the conspiracy theories or talk about COVID or the vaccine. But somehow with whatever guests I had on, a little talk of it would slip out.
Oh, it'll knock you right off.
Yeah. Those episodes just disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you never did them.
The sign of the times, it's sad that you can talk about demons and paranormal and all kinds of things that are pretty far out there.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Wow.
Speaking of that either.
Speaking of demons, that show you just did,
right?
Holy cow!
Did you like that?
Oh, I got Discovery Plus when it first came out, just so I could watch it because it wasn't in Canada yet.
God bless
so I
you.
got it and I watched all of them, and I'm like, oh my God. I said to Michelle, this is so well done. This is really good.
It's Eli Roth. Of course it is.
Yeah, but I mean, the vulnerability that each of you showed, because usually when someone calls for you, they're asking for help. This was, your vulnerability was like just all exposed. And
I have a confession to make. Mm-hmm. I bet you two didn't expect to take confession tonight.
No.
Yep, at least my episodes. I can't speak for everybody else because I don't really know the behind the scenes behind what happened with them personally in their cases. Yeah, I know they had to water down my cases a little bit.
Yeah,
and I was there were a couple of shows where you could see that I got a little emotional. I'm a big crybaby, and to sit in this, we're in this 200-year-old, almost 200-year-old Catholic church set up in the mountains in Southern California, with a lot of history. There was a lot of energy there, spirit energy. There seemed to be two choirs above us, ones that didn't want the show to air, ones that were protecting us. But my cases are very personal to me, and so there were some times where I would just break down while filming, trying to tell the story. So it's very personal, hard to do. I think they did a great job. I'm very proud of it. Whether it goes to a season 2 or not, I'm really proud of it. But they did have to water them down a little bit, which I think was good.
I hope you guys do get a season 2, because I don't think those are only stories that all of you have. You've all been, incredibly present and fighting all of that, and very well known. So that means you've helped a lot of people. So there's a lot of stories that need to be told. And I really believe that people need to see the other side of it. That, because you come in like a superhero, right? And they have to see how certain things affect you, as well as how what they do can affect you, or what they don't do.
And they have to see the human side as well.
Yes.
You know
what's a lot, and I know you, Michelle, you've had a lot. You've had a lot to do with directing, producing, casting reality paranormal shows. We There's a lot that goes into it in terms of the stories you're telling also involve other people that aren't going to be there that have to be on board with you telling that story. And I think a lot of reasons why shows like that, I take my hat off to Marwar Productions and Travel and Eli for being able to pull that show off, because a lot of things had to come together just right for us to be able to do that. And to protect people, sometimes a couple of names had to be changed. But it is what it is. So they would have to go through that whole, we started working on that show. I don't know if you've experienced this, either one of you, but I got my first phone call before the pandemic even started, and that show didn't air until last year. So it took a long time for them to finally put it together. And then when we finally get the call that it's a go, here's your plane ticket, get your butt out here. They had to cram in like 8 weeks of shooting into like 2 weeks.
That's a tough one.
I don't know how that happened. I mean,
yeah, you can do it, but it's a long hours and a lot of work, and everything has to be tickety-boo. Everything has to be status quo, in order, and it's bam, 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 bam. There's not a lot of room for error or retakes or anything like that.
Especially when they're all sitting together.
And we're also
on what I call the thrones.
All of us are old farts too, so we were we're there from like sun up to sundown, 6 days a week. We're exhausted. There was a lot of nodding off, which they had to edit out and cut. A lot of times I got elbowed by Rich on one side or Pastor Johnny on the other, and I would just look up at him and go, I was asleep on that. Yeah. All right, here, loud cut. Reverend Shawn, you're nodding there. Okay.
Is it that time already? Is it 9 o'clock yet? I know.
Those are long, long days. And then all the emotion that you're feeling, and retelling the story is like reliving the story. And it's just, I can't imagine.
I know, I should sit down with each cast member and really ask them what happened to them leading up to the show, during and after, because they all know. I've told them this. I also had there was a lot of things trying to prevent that show from happening. And even in my room, we went out to LA twice to do the original filming and then pickup shoots. And both times in my room, a lot of paranormal activity. Right in the shower, my ankles were grabbed. Wow. And I was flipped onto my face.
Oh,
and
my God.
I landed so hard in the shower, my right knee swelled up to about twice the size. I didn't tell anybody because I knew how studios work. If I told them I was injured, they would have sent me to quick care, and I probably wouldn't have been on the show. Yeah. So I walked or limped to a nearby drugstore and got one of those pull-up elastic
the bands
straps.
Yeah.
And I bought a big bottle of 8-hour arthritis strength Tylenol, and I was eating them like candy and trying to move as little as possible on set so they wouldn't tell. Yeah. I could barely get in and out of the trailer or even go to the bathroom because there was little ladder stairs going into the two.
Well, all that pain, and you're not resting it, right? You're not elevating it. You're not icing it. That's devotion.
It's interesting how there's always something there. And what I mean by that is when you work with these sort of beings, they're always a step ahead of you for the most part. And they don't want you to have that win. But the fact is how many times do you get into a situation where you're up against something, get rid of one, there's always a whole pile more, right? Trying to get it back in one form or another. In fact, most of the time, I'm sure you'll agree, there's usually more than one there per se. So do you find that when you're doing things like this, when you're ready to go into a location or even film, there's something there? There's always seems to be something there trying to keep you under its thumb.
Absolutely. And it's really amped up now since I became an ordained Catholic priest, and all the time during the seminary, I thought it would lighten up a little bit. And it was a completely different type of attack, more psychological, more really working on your emotions and your feelings about yourself and your self-worth, and are you up to all that kind of stuff. But the attacks, they never stop. And I really didn't even know why to be honest with you, I didn't know why I got the show. I'm just minding my own business one day. And I got a message from, I'm sure you guys know her, Joni Mahan. She's a paranormal author back east, written some wonderful books. She got a call from somebody claiming to be a producer working on a show about demonic possession and exorcism. Did she know anybody that they should talk to? She said, for some reason, and I know she knows more people than just me, she said, for some reason, my mind went blank and all I could see was you.
Yeah.
So I gave them your name and number, but I said, let me call them first to make sure it's okay. So she called me. She couldn't even really tell me if she thought the guy was legit. I thought for sure the guy wasn't going to be legit. And when he called me, he first introduces himself and he says, I'm actually traveling on a bus right now as we speak from back east to the studios on the West Coast to work on this project. So this is a great time to talk. I'm like, this guy's on a bus?
Why is he flying?
When you said it, I'm like, oh, don't be rude. Yeah. Don't be rude.
Why is he not flying?
I thought that was
maybe
the weirdest
he just
thing.
prefers that time to travel, to do things for himself.
I don't know, but I have to admit the first 2 or 3 conversations I had with people from that project, I told them no. I said, I actually absolutely don't think a good show can be done because, I'm worried about making the church look bad, making us look bad, it just being a silly project. I told them, I don't think you can really do a show about it and it not just not be good. But eventually they kept working on me. Eventually I realized I'm talking to some legitimate people here, and I bought into what they were trying to, for lack of a better term, sell. They really seemed passionate about the project. Their idea was great.
And did you need special permission to do it, or do you sort of have carte blanche, providing you use common sense and good judgment?
Well, at this time, I was just I had just been only, I was a member of the American Association of Exorcists, and I was ordained through a Christian university, so I was a Christian reverend. I wasn't a Catholic priest at the time, but I didn't know why. I know Joni got reached out to and she thought of me, but I'm still like, I know well enough to know that there's a reason why. There has to be a reason why this got laid in my lap. And I didn't know. And I kept asking God all the time, you're going to have to tell me, what's happening here. Is this what I should be doing? You laid this in my lap. What's going on? So actually, after 2 weeks of filming, when I was growing up, my mother, who was, may she rest in peace, was like the most devout Catholic I knew, and I was baptized Catholic. But she would tease me all the time when I was growing up that, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I, being a dumb kid, I would always say things like a fireman or a policeman or Spider-Man or whatever, football player. Say, I think you should be a priest. And I thought that was the silliest thing anybody would ever say to me. So here we go, 50 some odd years later, the show's over. It's the last day. We're all getting ready to go home. And there's a knock on the trailer door, and it's Bishop James Long. And he says, can I come in and talk to you for a little bit? I said, yeah, sure. And he's got this grin on his face like he's up to something, and I don't know what it is. He goes, I just want to tell you before we all go home that you have a pure heart, and I think you would make a great priest. Have you ever thought about being a priest? What I didn't tell him then, and I told him 2 weeks later, but at that time when he started talking to me, I literally saw my mother's face on his face. And it was her voice coming out of his mouth. And she's was Brazilian. So it was a very thick Brazilian accent of a woman coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
I knew I was hit like a bolt of lightning at that moment. I knew that's why I got that show, was to meet him and to have that conversation in the trailer at that moment. And so I didn't say yes then, but I think we both knew the answer was going to be yes. And I went home and talked to my wife, and she said, "Oh, come on, that was the reason." And so the rest is history. I entered. Who enters a seminary at 62? And I was a bad student to begin with. So, I mean, there were things helping me through these courses and classes, or I don't think I would have made it. And next thing I know, I'm getting ordained to the priesthood. And I just, now I have to get back into that whole thing, because I turned the page on the paranormal and turned the page on the demonology and the exorcisms to just concentrate on seminary for 2+ years. I knew if I didn't, I probably wouldn't have made it. And so now that I'm through that, I'm baby steps back into cracking open the demonology books again and looking over a lot of files that Bishop Long has sent me over, his studies and his exorcisms, and getting back into that again, because that's I tried to do a parish out here in Vegas. That's really hard. The hoops you have to jump through, getting a brick and mortar location to start a parish, that's going to take time. So Sharon said, well, before you do that, I thought you were going to get back into being an exorcist, because that's obviously your gift, what your gift of discernment is, and what you're being called to do. So I think that's what you need to do. And so I'm getting back into that.
Well, and just perfect comment, just in time to segue this.
Hi, Wayne. Wayne says, obviously you were ready when you were 62. All of our paths are different. We find our way when the time is exactly right for us to begin our new journey.
Well said. Well said. Yeah.
I believe that you need those and those life experiences, right? To help you. Because I look back at how upset I would be with myself if I did something that, is just really bad choices. And now I look back and I think, holy crap, I couldn't do what I'm doing if I didn't go through that. I wouldn't know how to feel that for someone else. And I wouldn't know how to listen or how to answer them. And I really believe in that. Truly. Like, I've had my gift my whole life, but I didn't start working and truly working with cold cases and missing children until I was 41.
Wow.
So I understand that. Yeah. And I've always been a medium. I've always had it, but that didn't really come knocking on, but we'll save that for another time.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
24 hours, less than 24 hours.
I have questions for you guys. I'm dying to ask them, but I took that piece of paper and I've got it filed over here because I know.
It's okay. Tell us about your journey getting there. What was it like for you getting there?
I'll start with meeting my wife. I'm just, I was one of those weird kids who I was so concerned about having friends and losing the friends I had. I didn't want them to think I was weirder than they already thought I was. So this passion for ghost hunting, I really kept on the download and in the closet. I was the weird guy riding around on a Schwinn with the little basket with the old Polaroid camera and back then a big tape recorder.
Yes.
And I'm driving, I'm riding around in Coldwater Canyon and Topanga Canyon looking for all the old abandoned sheds and cabins out in the fields to go and explore. And so I kept that I kept that away from everybody for many, many years. And then so here I am. I didn't get married till I was 40, but my wife and we were set up on a blind date and we didn't know it. But we immediately, in talking to one another, realized we both had a passion for investigating the paranormal and ghost hunting, because she's a near-death experience survivor a few times over and very sensitive, intuitive. So we started Ghost-B-Gone, and the rest is history.
Right.
I didn't I literally got baptized by fire into this field of deliverance ministry and basically drug into it, kicking and screaming, because that wasn't my intention. I just wanted to do what you saw people doing on the TV. I just wanted to go to these haunted locations, investigate, see if I could capture some really cool evidence, have some stories to tell around the campfire, have some fun with the wife. But we got this one case that it was dealing with a coworker, and I was working as a veterinary technician at the time at an animal hospital that was very haunted. Was something there at the hospital followed her home. Everybody at the hospital knew what I did, so she reached out to me for help. And the interesting thing about this one case is that's the one that kicked it all off. But that led to about 9 cases in a row where everybody knew each other. All the clients knew each other either professionally or personally. And I was exactly. And I was the one each one of them got a hold of to ask for help. What I didn't realize at the time was it was leading me down a path that I eventually suffered an extreme demonic attack. But backpedaling, that first case, my wife and I didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were up against. And we did weird things like provoking, conjuring, Ouija board at this case. And we believe that's what caused whatever was there to follow us home. And it's whatever it was in our home for about 2 months. My wife was the primary target of the attacks. And after I didn't know who to turn to for help. I reached out to the paranormal community, and God bless them if for once they came through for me. And they introduced me to my then mentor, who took me under her wing. She was an ordained exorcist. She taught me how to fight this thing out of the house, but it came at great cost. Almost immediately after that, my wife comes home from work one day, and she's talking to me like she's having a stroke. And I'm all, what's wrong with you? She says, well, my mouth, I'm in extreme pain. I think I have a tooth that broke, and my tongue's been rubbing on it all morning long. And now my tongue's all infected. I said, call and make an emergency appointment at the dentist tomorrow. And there's a dentist that was right across the street from the animal hospital she worked at. And they know her very well, so they took her right in because she said it's an emergency.
Yeah.
He took one look in her mouth and said, that's not what you think it is. He immediately sent her to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And I think that happened like 2 days later. We went in there, and the guy took one look. He turned to me, and he said, she's got squamous cell carcinoma of the tongue. So here's my wife. She's 16 years older than me. She's a cougar. But she's the healthiest person on the planet.
Like, I know you guys think it's a nice thing to say, but...
And it worked out because I like older women. So I like older women. She's a cougar. I was devastated, but she didn't drink, didn't smoke, no history of cancer in her family.
Yeah.
And overnight, she gets squamous cell carcinoma of the tongue, which spread and became another rare form of throat cancer, which spread and became medullary thyroid cancer.
Wow.
And that spread to lymph nodes in her neck. So this was an insidious attack.
Yes.
And she was a minister too, a Stephen minister in the Lutheran faith. So these things were trying to shut her up from ministering, from telling what happened to her.
Yes.
And she wasn't expected to survive. I mean, she lost like 40 pounds in like 2 weeks. Couldn't swallow water for like about 8 months. She had a feeding tube in for over a year. She went through like 35 straight treatments of radiation right in her mouth, several operations to take out wherever the cancers were metastasizing. They wanted to fly her to UCLA and have her tongue taken out.
No.
Here I was. I had every day I would come home from work, and the whole front of the fridge would be nothing but sticky notes. She's writing what happened that day in these sticky notes. So I'm reading sticky notes. Now they've been banned from the house. Now that she's better, knock on wood, thank you, Jesus. They're banned from the house because I don't want to read anything anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was,
I am so
she couldn't
sorry.
talk. And So she wasn't expected to survive, and here it is. I took a year off. I was done with this field. I took a year off.
Oh, that's pretty detrimental. I mean, the idea is to chip away at you as an individual, to
and
take
make
that
you
fight
stop.
away from you.
Well, I already know she's not expected to survive, but I'm going to fight with her till the end. And here it is, about 3 o'clock. Well, I want to say about 1 a.m. one morning, and this was one of her bad nights where I was convinced I'm going to wake up in the morning laying next to a dead woman. That's how bad this night was going.
Right.
So I didn't know what to do. And here I got another vision of my mom telling me there's something she did when she was very young. She showed me a vision of this. You need to do this. So what I did was, I know my wife would be okay because I had 2 big mastiffs sleeping in bed with her. I decided to drive at 1 o'clock in the morning to this all-night prayer chapel around the corner, and I went there, blessed myself, and I crawled on my hands and knees all the way from the front door all the way to the altar. I threw myself on the altar, the mercy of the court, and I laid there for 2 hours talking to whoever would listen, and I all of a sudden got this feeling, and I heard someone tell me, go home now. So now I crawl all the way back out of the church. I'm driving home, and I'm like, God, are you just making me feel better because I'm going to walk in and find my wife dead? I mean, be honest with me now before I go in there. I didn't get any answer, but that's what I was fearing. I should have known better than to fear that.
Right.
And if I did find that,
help it. This is the love of your life.
But I walk in there, it's dead silent. I don't even want to walk into the living room. We're sleeping in the living room still to this day because most of the demonic attacks happen in the master bedroom, and so we don't sleep in there any long. But I walk in there, and my dogs are sleeping. I look at my wife; she's still breathing. I'm like, ugh. My phone starts ringing. I'm like, who's calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning? It's God.
Right. Yeah.
God's calling me. So I look at the caller ID, and it's from New York, and I knew I had a friend of mine named Russell who I've known all my life.
So it wasn't George Burns.
No, it wasn't George. And I don't know. I still haven't picked up the phone yet, but I see New York, and I know my friend lives. I knew that he was dying of advanced colon cancer. So I figured, well, if it's him, I need to answer. If it's not him, if it's George Burns, I need to answer.
Yeah, because he played God. For those of you who don't know who I'm talking about,
it's either George Burns or it's who's the other guy that played
Morgan Freeman? Yeah.
So I answer the phone. It's my friend. Now, I just talked to him about a week earlier, and he was back in the hospital. They didn't expect that he would leave the hospital alive, and he sounded really bad when I last talked to him. He sounds so happy right now on this phone call. Now, you have to understand, Russell's the nicest guy you'd ever want to know, big heart. Everybody loved him, but he was an atheist, diehard atheist. And he says, I said, what's going on, brother? I just want to tell you that I don't have much time left.
Oh boy.
And he didn't, because I'm within hours he was gone.
Wow.
He said, but I just saw God, and God told me to call you and tell you that Sharon's going to live.
Wow.
And that you need to get back to battling those responsible for her condition. And at that time I had left the field and I wasn't going back.
Yeah.
So he did pass away shortly after that. And Sharon made a miraculous turnaround. I mean, and it was pretty miraculous. So like within a matter of some months, she got the feeding tube out. Long story short, she's still with us. She's put back on about 20 pounds, feeding tubes out. She's not eating normal, only because her tongue will never be the same. And if she swallows something wrong, she can have a choking episode.
Yeah.
But she's eating again, relatively normal, drinking, back to work. We have 2 full body CTs and MRIs done of her twice a year. They show no metastasis of the disease anywhere. And so she's back.
Right.
She's living.
I knew I had a decision to make. And I didn't, I'll be honest with you, I was scared. I didn't want to go back. But these friends of mine start reaching out to me for help. So then I worked these string of cases. And it's this last case, I come under extreme attack. And I've talked to many colleagues in my field who believe that I actually died during this attack, and it was only divine intervention that brought me back. But now here it is again. I'm done. I'm really done this time. I'm having this conversation with God saying, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not saying no to you, but I'm not cut out for this. I'm done.
Because it's not even just about you, right? It's your loved ones. It's your friends, your family.
And I have to lie to Sharon to go work cases because she wants to go work them still. And I'm scared to take her because they're always in your ear, what they're going to do to her and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But my phone rings again, and it's a friend of mine who's a pastor. And she's telling me I need your help with this case. I'm like, no, I'm done. She's begging me, you got to help me with this case. So finally, I said, okay, I'm just going to go and observe. So we go to this case, and it was at that case I had a vision of the Holy Spirit. And then the very next case that I decided to work, I told God, okay, I know you got my back. I'm back. The next case was a demonic possession case, and I had a vision of Jesus Christ during that exorcism. And so I knew, I said, okay,
I can do this.
You know, well, it's still, you know, I love God. My faith my faith was never in question, but I'm just human. I still get worried, scared for the clients because it's always life and death. I get scared for Sharon. I do get scared myself sometimes.
But do you find that hinders you when you go in?
It absolutely does. So I make sure I go to confession. I make sure I go to church. I receive communion. But now that I'm an ordained priest, I say Mass here in my home every day. Right. Give myself communion, receive communion. But when I go there, I've had people tell me something different happens to you. Sometimes I get done with these cases and I don't really even remember what happens. They say something happens to you and you change. And I think that's the change that happens during these confrontations where I'm just being used as a vessel, allowing the Holy Spirit to come through and do the battles because I don't have a magic wand and I have no magic powers to fight these things. It's
you're
when
one
you're
man.
truly when you're truly called to this.
Yes.
People come and help you. Spirit comes and helps you.
Yeah. And everybody has a spirit team when you're doing
absolutely.
light work, I believe. Yeah. You have to. I think, anyways, I feel like you really need that.
So that's a tough one. I know that
I'm still absorbing it.
They're always a step ahead of you. So it's almost like you're down before you even get started. You know, they know even before you know that you are going to be helping certain people.
Well,
they can't not give me a heads up. Exactly. And I'll give you an example. About 48 hours before my phone rings or I get a text message or an email from a client, I need your help. Here's my story. I start getting what I refer to as paranormal drive-bys or recon blasts.
Yes.
And I know, okay, I already know.
Here we go. Right.
But the thing is I don't buy it. They try to do things to make you scared, to make you mad. I remember taking authority over an exorcism once. Well, actually, I was at first assisting, and the priest got ill and went into the garage, and I took over for him momentarily. And the girl that the entity had manifested through her, and she hit me in the face really, really hard. Started opening and slamming simultaneously, and the noise was so deafening that the other people that were there to help couldn't hear me talking to them. And the priest comes running in from the garage and looks at me and waves me into the garage, and he asked me what had happened. I told him. He said, "You have to go. You can't stay because
the moment what did you do?
moment you got mad,
that's it.
It turned your anger into its own power and turned it against everything. So you just got to be very careful. So I don't do it. And I get to these homes, and I know when I drive up, it can be like high noon here in Vegas, 115 degrees out. But when I'm looking at these homes, if they're truly infested, they look like I'm looking at them through sunglasses. So I know, but when I get up to the door, it's always a surprise to the owner because when I knock and they open the door, they're taken back because I'm already on my knees saying some prayers, special prayers, and then I don't enter the home. without crawling over the threshold on my hands and knees, to show ultimate humility.
And submission.
Before we even start, I get the whole family on a couch, kick their shoes and socks off, and I wash all their feet in a big basin full of holy water. By the time I'm done doing that, usually, not always, everything's okay again. You can hear them leave. You can feel them leave. They can't take it. They can't handle the humility.
That's a lot of holy water.
Yeah.
That's a lot of holy water.
And it usually really takes people back seeing me enter their home that way, and then asking them all to sit on the couch and kick off their shoes and put their feet in the bowl of holy water for me to wash them. And but that's what it takes. If I didn't do that, I don't think I could proceed. If I didn't enter the house that way, I don't think I could proceed. And then something else is there, and I really feel, it's an amazing feeling to know that you really do feel like you've got people with you that you can't see that are going to make everything okay. Just do what you came to do, and we'll do the rest. And so I try to stay focused, but like I said, I'm only human. It's natural to be a little nervous and get scared sometimes, but nowadays it's mostly for my client, because I know it's a matter of life and death. And I know if I do something wrong, it could end in them being done. Not only losing their soul, but maybe dying. And that's also a lot of pressure.
They come to you to carry the weight. You're the one that is carrying that weight for them for a little while. You're the one they're turning to. It's very difficult being the person of focus that, you're going to help make this right. And you can't always make it right. You do your best because, like you say, you're only human. But do you find, because this is what I have found in working with families like this, the person who is the object of let's just say this entity's attention, they're not going to let you in typically. Do you wait to be invited in? Because I would always say, I remember working with a family where I would just say to the husband, because he was unscathed by it. And I don't know if it's because he knew something was wrong, but he couldn't get his head there. It's hard for some men, they feel that they should be able to protect their family no matter what.
It's really hard.
I basically said, you need to be the one to invite me in, because she will not. And I said, just please, just this one, just make it official. This isn't common practice. Like I thought what I would typically do. And he officially brought me in. And I'll tell you something, when I walked in, she was eating cereal and it was just spewing all over the floor. She's just going like this. And all of a sudden she stopped. She was staring at a wall. And I stood right behind her. And she spun around and go, "Why are you here?" And I just smiled. Well, now, that's the question, isn't it? So, but I felt at the time in this specific instance that was the process that would work. Because priests would try to go to her home to bless when she was feeling calm, and herself, she would invite them, "Please come and bless the house. Please come and bless the house."
Yeah.
Every time, because she was Catholic, every time they came to the house, she would never let them in.
Well, that's the demon inside, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. I have two rules of thumb. If somebody calls me and tells me I'm possessed, I need you to perform an exorcism on me, I already know 99.999% of the time they're not possessed, and they're either they might be experiencing demonic oppression or infestation, but they're not possessed. And I also know that if they're not possessed, they might have a mental illness.
Oh yes.
Sometimes I ask, "Are you under the care of a physician for a mental illness and taking any kind of medications?" Here's the big thing that I still struggle with, that I had to get used to, and I'm still struggling with it: knowing when to say when and cutting clients loose. Because legally, you at that point, if they are under the care of a physician and been clinically diagnosed, now they could still be possessed or even experiencing oppression or infestation in their home and have a mental illness. So that's sad. But legally, you can't do anything if they're at that point. So cutting them loose. And I also send out an intake form, and I know by the time the intake form comes back, if they are going to be ready to, that famous phrase from Harry Maguire, help me help you.
Right.
If they're ready to let me do what I have to do and all in and ready to help me and do whatever I say. If they're not, I just know that it's just me going there just going to make things worse. And then there's other people you have to worry about if they have animals or small children or other family members being infected.
Animals can't speak for themselves, right?
No.
Oh, I tell them ahead of time, send them to a boarder, board them for a couple of days, get babysitters for the kids that you can send them to the babysitter so that I'm not having to worry about that while I'm there, because they are, as soon as I walk in, that's provocation enough. I never provoke. But as soon as I go there, like you were behind that girl, that was provocation enough.
She knew. Yeah. She just stopped. And I mean, she spun around like a bloody boomerang. Like, it caught me off guard how quick she was. But I commend you, for looking, with people who are under care. I request psychological or psychiatric assessments and two, second opinion if I can. And I will not do anything without the permission of that doctor. And they'll always give it, providing, I don't discourage them from taking medication, which of course I would not. If the medication doesn't work, then you're kind of like, oh, okay, maybe there's something more, right? So I commend you for that. There's a lot of different people who do different things for clearings and deliverances or exorcism, and it doesn't mean they should. Even investigators, I don't think these type of cases are for everyone, because they don't take those precautions with the people they're assisting. They get to go home. These people don't.
No, it's a big deal. It's a big responsibility.
Thank you for that, because it's important protocol.
I tell people all the time, be careful who you reach out to. Do your homework and your background checks on these teams, because they may mean well, but they may have no clue what they're dealing with when it comes to what's in your home, and they could usually they make things a lot worse. They may not intend to do that, but it
for themselves too, right?
Oh yeah. Where there's one, there's many. So what would it take for them to end up, with a hitchhiker on the way home, and then you're bringing this to your own home? So even if you're an investigator out there and your adrenaline builds up about this, watch out for the client and watch out for your family. This stuff, it goes home with you.
Play for keeps.
It doesn't need to follow you. It knows exactly who you are, where you live, who your family is, who you love, what you do before you do it, and before you've even entered that home. Oftentimes, you see that certain exorcists will be called to a home with a demon that they've exorcised before, or haven't, or have fought before, and it's years later that all of a sudden it comes up. Yeah.
Because they got help once, it left. Then they didn't continue to dot their I's and cross their T's and walk that path that they were given. That if you stay on this path and do the right thing, you should be okay. They veer off of it, and when these things come back, they're just waiting.
Time is on their side, right?
They usually come back with many more.
Yeah.
It's usually a lot worse.
The 3 words you don't want to hear is, I am Legion. Michelle always gives the best advice. I mean, she's had so many incredible experiences. I can listen to her for hours, and we've been friends for a while. You always say, oh my gosh, and I just lost my train of thought.
Couldn't have been too important.
No, it was. Oh, you always say we're only half of the equation.
I think it's important, and I'm sure you would agree, that people need to be educated so they don't put themselves, and because sometimes it's not always by chance. Sometimes you put yourself in that position And I don't mean that facetiously, but sometimes we're all going to these haunted places, or we're going to open up spirit communication, which is more about intention, I think, than the means. You can do it with a voice recorder. You put out that communication, like, I want to communicate with you. I'm inviting you to communicate with me. Sometimes it's very benign, but you put yourself in a pickle in some instances. So I have always said to people, it's a mindset too. You need to, if people lose their faith, you got to get your faith back. You've got to realize you're stronger than them.
And, I would have to say, the majority of the people that reach out to me now for help are these next generation ghost hunters that have had no training.
Interesting.
They're the couch investigators.
Yeah. Well, they mean well. They're passionate. Yes. They have some knowledge. They buy some equipment. They have other friends that this is
it's fun.
The greatest hobby they've ever had, and they're good, but they never got any training. Their training was watching Ghost Adventures.
Right. I always call them the sofa investigator.
Sofa investigator.
Again, not
and the atheist.
That works for crime as well.
People that have no faith reach out to me. They're atheists. Right. I have this going on. I need you to come and take care of this. You take care of. I got something here that's turned my life upside down. At times I feel it's trying to kill me, but I don't believe in God. So whatever this thing is, will you just come and get rid of it? What do you say?
It's there because
if you don't believe in God and you see something invisible affecting your life, you've got to believe in something.
Well, here's the thing. As bad as I want to just say, listen, when you'll know when you're really ready to maybe, take the blinders off and broaden your horizons a little bit, and call me when you're ready. I'm not made up that way. So I said, look, I'm going to come over, walk around, see what I see, feel what I feel, and let's have a talk. By the time, and it might take a couple of days, it might take weeks, it might take months. By the time I'm done helping that person with their problems, man, they are a God-fearing, church-going fool.
Warrior, darn it.
The whole thing is when that chain breaks.
That's right. They're warriors. And that's the idea. You need to turn them into warriors. People feel empowered when they have somebody there, I think, who, like yourself, you get in there and you say, okay, you could take control of your place and you're just going to put it out there. And, when you first walk in, you see them sort of skittish. And holy God, by the time they get going, I want to jump out the window. They'll just get out of my house. Blah, blah. It's like, holy crap. What happened? Where's this person been?
And they get upset if you tell them. Yes. I'm not accusing you of anything, but it's been my experience that, and not always, but more times than not, you may not even have known you did it, but you've done something that these things are always around. You've done something to draw the attention of one of these things. And whatever you've done was something that they felt gave them permission to attach and enter your life. So what was that? And then some people get really, really upset about, I didn't do anything. And then once you calm them down, you calm down, you just start having a chat, slowly peeling the layers away.
When I was 15, I played a Ouija board. Now I'm 50, right? But do you get those where
you
forget when you're a silly kid, maybe getting into some drinking or indulgences with your friends without thinking, you're camping, you're being silly. Do you get those that come back like decades later with a vengeance?
Yeah, because there's no time. They are the most patient things in the existence of whatever.
Yeah, because it's not just you they have their eye on. They
can
the
wait.
Whole world
they lie in there. They can be dormant for decades.
Yeah, but they have the whole world to play with. So if they're not bugging you, they're out somewhere else. They're not
bugging somebody. Well,
yeah,
I think they can definitely buy their time. Everything that goes wrong in your life and you don't know why. No, even benign things. Maybe there's a bit of a puppet master in the background, right? Taking you down that path.
I remember one time all of a sudden, I was a raging alcoholic and drug addict for 20 years. And one day when I was actually ready to stop, I probably wasn't really ready. I had to be.
Right.
But I mean, I felt I was at rock bottom, and if I was either going to die or accidentally kill my wife or something in a car wreck, because I'm notorious. Back then, I was notorious for driving drunk after we'd go to parties together. Shawn, why don't you just call a cab, get in the car? So when I was ready, I just said to God, listen, I know you love me, and you know I love you, and I know you created me for bigger and better things than this. I'm my mother and father's son. Help me here. I don't want to do this any longer. When that, people that really have problems with alcoholism and drug abuse get mad at me sometimes when I tell them a story, because I woke up the next day and it's been almost 30 years. And since that time I did that, I never had another drink or took any drugs since.
Wow.
So God will help. You just got to have faith, believe in the power of prayer, have faith, and be ready. A lot of these times, these people aren't ready for that. So yeah, it's it can be anything. Just there's so many things that open doors and allow these types of things.
Let's talk about that, please, for those listening, because I really don't think people realize how easy it is.
I'll give you another great example.
Okay.
This girl is not a whore. Attractive young lady. She has I'm fully sleeved with tattoos, so she's full body tattoos everywhere. It doesn't bother me. But was a great dancer. One day, she realized she was never going to make it to be a professional dancer and travel the world doing these great modern jazz shows and ballet shows and stuff. But she was on the cusp of being that great, but realized one day it wasn't going to happen. So she started dancing at a strip club.
Oh boy.
Making great money.
Yeah.
Making great money because she's a very attractive girl.
That's fine. It's what comes in.
Yeah.
So I know you two. You guys can already know where I'm going with this. That was the door.
Yeah.
This dancing at the strip club, because then what came after that was a drink here, a drink there, more drinks here, more drinks there. There's always drugs around, crank,
exposure,
coke, whatever, pot, whatever. I'm dating myself now. Eventually that turned into her meeting a guy that she fell head over heels for. He turned out to be a pimp. So he started pimping her out. Then she became a very well-known, not Stormy Daniels, but a very well-known adult film star.
Right.
Something happened to her one day, and she realized, and this, she saw herself on film or something, and it was at a moment of clarity for her where she did something. God allowed her, when she was performing in these films, she was under extreme oppression and kind of being guided to do that. So now something happened one day when she saw one of her films, and God had given her the clarity to see it for what it was. And she realized, this was probably the one rare case where when she called me to tell me her story and said, I know I'm possessed. I knew that she was. And so now here's the thing. I can't take my wife with me. And I can't go by myself because that doesn't look good for a reverend or a priest to go to an adult film star's home. Plus the boyfriend was very violent. He was already not digging that she reached out to me.
Right.
Oh.
So
ding, ding, ding.
I did a roundabout on everybody.
Yeah.
Being an investigator, I investigated him a little bit, and I found out who his mother was. And I went and paid a visit to his mother, who was, lived in the hood. So you can imagine me with Ghost-B-Gone magnets on my car with the car on, driving into the hood.
I love it.
I mean, people were like, oh, this guy's not getting out of this
No, right.
Time I got out to go talk to Mama.
Right.
She had the whole neighborhood in front of her house going, what do you want with Mama? So Mama came out and protected me and got me in the house. We had a nice long talk. She got her boy. She said, "I'm going to get my son over here," and I know she whooped his ass. I know because it doesn't matter how big and bad you are. Your mama's always going to be able to whoop your ass. There's nothing you can do. So I said, "You need to get him over here and keep him here because I need to go help his girl." And she was on board because she knew something was wrong with the girl.
Right.
So
that's helpful.
We arranged that, and I went to the house. So I made arrangements. Now the girl lays this on me: "You're not going to be able to help." It's telling me you're not going to be able to help because I'm Jewish.
Right.
So I'm like, "So you don't believe Jesus Christ? Are you a Messianic Jew? Because Messianic Jews believe Jesus was the Son of God."
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just a regular Jew. I believe he was a great prophet, but not the Son of God or God.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't help me. I'm all, well, that's not you talking. I'm still willing to come and help because we were all Jews once.
Yeah.
I'm still willing to come help. Well, what I did was now I start investigating again, and I find out, wouldn't you know, there are Messianic Jewish rabbi exorcists.
Yeah.
And
I found one.
Right.
With the Dybbuk, wasn't that it? Yeah.
Exactly. And I found one here in Vegas.
Wow.
And then
in Las Vegas.
I found another girl. I said, we got to take a woman with us because there's a woman there. And I already know ahead of time when this thing manifests itself, we're going to have our hands full. It's going to be like we're on the set of an adult film. So I already knew that. So I bring this woman who's a psychic medium, but very personable. I knew that they would get along, and they did. But we had a woman there. And that exorcism was unlike anything I'd ever witnessed. I just sat back to assist and watch this rabbi, Messianic Jewish rabbi exorcist work and do his thing. Oh, big time! It was, but it was a good thing I was there because he did need my help.
Of course.
And the psychic came under attack too. But the beautiful, actually, I think that story. I think that's the last story in my second book. And we all saw the Virgin Mary in this home during this exorcism. And Mary came to help her daughter. And it didn't matter that she was Jewish, but there were times during this that we were there for a long time and the thing didn't manifest. And we felt like, are we being fooled here? I mean, it was just that nothing was going on. Well, it didn't want to come out until we were gone. But so finally, I just asked her at the kitchen table. I said, we're going to leave. If it's here, tell us. She goes, it's been here all this time. I go, where is it? She points over at the corner of the kitchen, and there's this little teeny tiny black dot on the wall. And once I turn, I go, is that a bug? She goes, no, that's it. I look close. It looks like some black mold on the wall, a little dot of it. As soon as I started to address it, this black mold starts to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger on this wall. And a little teeny tiny strip of this black mold starts going up the crack of this wall, and it reaches the ceiling, and it starts coming across the ceiling. And we're all just watching this, and she doesn't take her eyes off me. It gets right above her head, and a little drop of black mold that looked like tar comes down and lands right on her head. Boom. The second it hit her head, she changed. Yeah. And it was a good thing we had the woman there. It was a good thing I had help because nobody would have believed the things that I saw telling the story. But she became like she was determined. I'm not going to say it. She was determined to the rabbi and me at the same time, if she could.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe even the psychic girl.
Right.
And then started doing things to herself that were just. And then you have to be careful. Like if you're going to physically jump in, you don't want to hurt her. You don't want her to hurt you, and it's not her anyway. But that was. And it all started way back because she was just a beautiful, talented dancer.
Yes.
That one day realized I'm never going to make it as a famous professional dancer.
Lost hope.
I'm that good and that attractive. I'm just going to strip because I'm just going to take my top off and dance on a pole and make tons of money, which at first that's all it was. And she was very good and made a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was something down at the end of that road.
Yeah.
And I believe with this thing that came into her life was already in her life and knew the path.
That's what I was just going to say. Was she pushed that way, or because
maybe do they travel from life to life? Do you think? Because I know situations like that.
Here's another thing. I'm going to get hate mail. Not hate mail. None of my colleagues send me hate mail, but they get on me.
Right.
Because, I think out of the box a little bit. And sometimes.
I'm sorry to be the accomplice, but.
I try not to be
No, you're not.
blasphemous or commit heresy.
Right.
I try to really walk on eggshells when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
But and many of my colleagues don't believe in reincarnation or past lives. Some do. I'm really on the fence because I've had people that I truly believe, and I can count them on both hands. I've met, and Amelia, you're one of them. I have met people that I do believe have been given a gift from God, a psychic ability, gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been told by people that don't even know me things about past lives that are I'm telling you, just something about it.
Yeah. But even the Bible talks about reincarnation. How do you discount it completely?
Well, I believe here's why I believe I had one.
Right?
Because I know. I mean, you go back to my ancestry in England. There's County Whittington, Whittington Moor, Old Whittington, New Whittington. There's records of preachers with my last name that were rumored to have had like the Holy Grail, or maybe even something more powerful of Christ at Whittington Castle. And when the hunt was big for whatever this object was, they left and came to America and hid it somewhere like in Maryland. And then those guys migrated to the Midwest. And I know my father's family, they were all they weren't Quakers, but they were all that type of people. They were before Oklahoma was even a state, it was called Indian Territory, and they were teaching religion to the Indians, to the indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in my background, and so I tend to think. One time I was having some violent haunt going on here in the home, and it wasn't demonic, but I had this one psychic reach out to me and say, "You have the spirit of a pissed off witch that's mad at you because your family hunted her down back in the day during the witch trials in England. Not here in America, but back in England."
Right.
And so the unfortunate thing is you can't go back to where the deed was done and undo it. But I can't even really tell you how I brought closure to that. I asked for a lot of help, but I was able to bring closure to that. But there's just, it's I'm at the Highland Games many, many years ago with Sharon walking around. Some woman that doesn't even know me walks up to me and says, "I don't know who you are, and I don't know if you believe in psychics." I didn't tell her who I was, but I thought that was weird. She goes, "I just wanted you to know that you have the biggest group of spirit dogs following you around that I've ever seen." She didn't know that I'm a veterinary technician and I've had many, many animals all my life, and that most of their ashes are still here in the home. Right. But she tells me, "You've done that all your life, and you've done that in past lives, whatever you do now." And then this other psychic that didn't even know, all my life I've had terrible neck problems, x-rays, nothing's wrong with your neck. I'll wake up sometimes, can't even move it. Got to be careful how I work out, what I do. I can't even with a wet hair, if I want to try and look a little sexy, I can't even shake my hair to try and fluff it out because it's getting thin. I want to shake it and get it fluffy. Because if I shake my head wrong, my neck goes out.
I know the feeling.
I met this psychic who tells me, "You know why you have your neck problems? You in your past life, you were," and I've always loved lighthouses, and I don't know why. I almost bought one for $1 when I got out of the Navy because the government was selling them for $1 if you knew how to be a handyman and you could keep it going.
Right.
You could live there for free and own it. But I didn't know why I had this obsession with them. She said, you were the owner of a lighthouse back in a past life, and you fell down the stairs to your death and broke your neck. That's why you still have no problems.
There's got to be something to it then.
So, I don't know, but I'm really, really on the fence with it. And I'm not saying, it's hard not to buy into it.
It's hard because scientists will say to you, well, it's just DNA imprints over the generations and you're picking up other stuff. It's not really you. So science likes to come in and say, no, which is hard. So I would go with your gut feeling.
I feel bad for all these people that are in this and do what we do, that say you've got to do it with the science. I appreciate the scientific method, and I appreciate these guys trying to either prove ghosts do or don't exist. Until the three of us can sit here and have a ghost sit down and interview with us, no one's going to be able to approve it. But it's much more of a spiritual journey, and people like us getting together and talking like this and telling stories and sharing our experiences. It will always be a spiritual journey, and it always has been and always will be. You won't know. We will all be having this conversation one day in heaven and laughing about what we know then that we don't know now. But no one's ever going to be able to prove it one way or another. So science, I dig it. I'm into science, but they need, a lot of these investigators need to. It's like, it's their way or the highway, and if you're not going by
parapsychology, for example,
I have a hard time with that.
Well, what do you say to somebody who, there are a lot of naysayers who are like, we don't believe in demons. We don't believe there is any such thing as demonic possession. We believe that it's, psychokinesis or telekinesis, it's projection of energy. 9 times out of 10 is poltergeist activity. People are troubled. What do you say to them, having experienced as much as you've experienced?
I'm also big on not judging. I don't judge anybody or condemn them for what they believe in. And how do I know that maybe they're not, well, I can't even say maybe they're right because of the things that I've seen and experienced. But if I hadn't seen and experienced the things that I have, I might be thinking to myself, maybe they are right. Maybe there is nothing. Maybe it is all science. I don't know. But I usually just look at people. It's a lot like in politics. I've never been in politics until 2016. And I'm not a big Trump fan. I'm not a big Biden fan. Yes, I voted for Trump. I'll tell you why. Because I've been screwed over by politicians so much in my life. When he started talking about draining the swamp, I said, I want to see what's in the swamp. I'm not a big fan of him, but I want to see what's in the swamp.
He did a good job with that swamp.
So here's the thing. From 2016 on, all of a sudden I find all these people trying to drag me into the politics. And that's not my thing.
No, I hear you.
But that's the thing with these parapsychologists and naysayers and non-believers. I just smile at them and say, listen, if that's what you believe and that's what you feel, God bless you. If you love Joe Biden and your life's better now than it was 4 years ago, God bless you. That's what I want for you. Fine. If it wasn't, then you need to make a choice. I don't judge, and I appreciate everybody's opinion because I don't. All I can tell you is what has happened to me, what I've seen, and what I've experienced. But we're not going to know until everybody's going to talk.
We get that we don't know, basically. See, for me, I feel, parapsychology has come leaps and bounds, going back to the Skoll experiment or the Philip experiment. Everything has its place. And I know parapsychologists who are more open-minded. They're like, well, I know something's there. I know something was there. But I think trying to find that everybody feels that science is the answer to everything. I don't know that it is. I think science is behind in some cases. Like, we do believe the essence leaves the body and keeps going after death. Like now you're reading more and more articles where they're saying, okay, maybe there's something to this. So it's not as closed off, because I think you have people, this is a perfect example. the cell phone. There are things now being captured with this sort of technology and, the internet. Things are getting put out there that you can't just easily dispute.
I agree.
There isn't an answer for everything. But that's what makes you want to keep looking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
I've had parapsychologists and diehard skeptics and debunkers on cases with me, and they will see a full body apparition, and as soon as it's gone, spin to me and automatically start debunking it.
Right.
And I just kind of laugh and go, okay, there's really not much I can say or do here. Okay,
I don't have a problem with skeptics. I welcome them because I'm very skeptical, and I think that's what makes me dig deeper. But I also don't want to be attacked for what I'm doing or questioned at every step. Let me just do what I'm doing, and then you can just take it from there. But let me finish. Don't cut me off. Don't say it's this, it's that. Let me finish what I'm doing. That's all.
As long as people can, and you guys exude it. I mean, you can just look at you guys and listen to you guys, and I know at least. But you guys have big hearts. You're good people. If people, skeptics and debunkers and non-believers, if they can look at people like us and at least know that we mean well, that we have big hearts and we're okay, and we mean well,
labeled,
we're trying to help people.
Sure.
Exactly, Amelia. Just let us finish, and if we're able to help, great. If not, then we'll move on. But let us do what we do, and let's see what happens.
I get attacked a lot, and I'm sure all three of us do on social media and things like that for what we do. And
never mind, people freaking love me. No, I get really amazing messages and comments. I mean, I'm sure I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but on an average.
Oh my gosh. So on X, which I call the land of the trolls and the darkness.
Yeah.
I think the X needs an exorcism.
There's a lot of great people on there too.
There is a really lot tonight. There's a lot of great people on X, and I follow you if you're great, because I'm there to learn. I'm not there to dispute or, I'm not there to argue with anyone. I don't engage with stupidity. But anyways, there was a gentleman who I was having a conversation with one of the ministers of Parliament well, they're off right now, but anyways, on X. And I said something, and of course, because we're on opposite sides of the fence, he thought it a good idea to attack me being a medium. So you'd have to go into my profile to see what I am. So obviously you took the time purposely with the intention of trying to find something to degrade me and to, dismiss my opinion as being important. So what I did, he wrote, you're a medium. There's no such thing. You're a fake weirdo. So I go on his, and this is what I'm talking about, changing things around and changing the energy. I went to look at what he did, and he was a retired vet. And I wrote back, I said, well, tell that to the families whose children I brought home that I'm fake. And by the way, thank you so much for your service. He wrote back, Amelia, I am so sorry for being a DIC, right? And I said, if you come back with anger, it's just going to keep. Yeah, but if you come back with anger, it's just going to keep going.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's just the way you are. That's how you're made. You naturally.
No, I need to talk back, honestly.
Well, it's the hardest thing.
Pretty sassy.
My dad used to call me spicy because being the Italian immigrant he was, he thought he was saying feisty. Right. But no, I can cut back very quickly, but I will strip you to nothing. So I tried the last name back.
If you didn't talk back, we would think there was something wrong with you.
Yeah.
But I think you get human nature. I also find, however, and I'll only speak for myself, when you are in the public eye, for me, I avoid politics. Politics and religion are two things that can make you lose half the equation or half your fan base.
Absolutely.
And then you lose the other half on another, So it's one of those things that you govern yourself a certain way because, people either look to you or people, if they're not sure about you, it's just going to make them go completely the other way.
Yeah.
And the most important
I'll tell you
thing
what happened with
are the
me.
people that you're helping.
Here's the strange thing. I'm going to get hate mail for this. I know I am.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I probably just lost half my family.
I'm going to send it right over to Sean.
All my life.
No, we're going to send them to Joe. iCar.net.
All my life, I was never into the politics thing. Why in 2016 I did, I just accidentally stumbled upon watching Trump on TV talk about that stuff. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I was in the Navy. My father was a 25-year retired Master Chief, served in World War II, Korea, Purple Heart recipient. May he rest in peace. I know a lot, and I was in the Navy, so I have Navy SEAL friends who told me the real story about Benghazi and the role that Hillary played behind that. So I was upset at her at the time. Yeah. I don't hate her. I don't hate anybody. In my field, I will turn in my God badge the day that I start hating people. I don't hate people. You got to be able to turn the other cheek. Here's the thing. I was upset at her at the time, and then he was talking about the whole swamp thing. I said, I'm going to give this guy a shot. I never vote. I'm going to give this guy. I want to see the swamp. I want to see the swamp. But I have friends that love Biden, and that's okay. I say, God bless you. I said, I said, it's okay. I said, here's the fence. I happen to be on this side, but my hand's on top. And I can see you through the fence. I'm a Republican. I can see the Democrats through the fence. If you want to come up to the fence, reach up and hold my hand, we can talk. We can even pull the fence down and go party together. And I party with Democrats, party with Republicans. But now I do have some people I know that are extreme left and some that are extreme right. And I can't even deal with it.
Well, that's the whole wokeness and the anti-woke. But I don't have a problem with getting involved in politics right now because the greater good is against the evil in the world right now. And that's what I feel that I'm seeing. I don't feel it as I will not discuss it or be a part of it after the next election. It's only because this country is now coming together against what I consider an evil force.
It's everywhere right now.
That's right. It's internationally. So for now, I will because the majority thinks the same way. But I always say when anyone gets upset, I always say everyone has the right to a party to represent them, whether we agree with it or not. And I don't want to see certain parties dismantled because they've changed who they are, because the people who voted for them believe they were representing them. These people deserve representation. So let's not hate each other over stuff like that. We have to, we do it for what we feel is better, but don't criticize other people. That's how I see it.
On that note, we're going to do a sponsor and station ID, please.
I'm never ready. Never ready. Seriously, for that. It's always when I get right into it. Is that a hint, Michelle? You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 107.7 FM, as well as the Gulf Coast on 105.3 FM. We're live on the Roku channel right now and archived as well. Our special guest tonight is our dear friend, Father Shawn Whittington, and you probably know him. He has his own show, which we're going to be on tomorrow. Just saying. And you have probably seen him on this spectacular show, Eli Roth Presents, the Legion of Exorcists. So we're discussing everything about exorcism, demonics, how Father Whittington got there, and a lot about his life story. So if you're just tuning in right now, don't worry, because you can stream our archives right from the beginning on any platform that you normally use. Search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm to find us. Remember to click like, I almost said lick, let's really, and it's the end of the week, and subscribe. Add us to your playlist so you never miss an episode, and kindly share us with your friends and family. You'll hear me say that through the station ID about 100 times. Kindly share us. the big shout out of gratitude and love is going to start now with Folgers Coffee. Thank you for your continued support in sponsoring our show. I feel like the lady at the Price is Right, just saying. We love you. Our fabulous banner and promo media is courtesy of Steve McGinnis. He's an incredible horror illustrator. He's a fabulous artist. And he also creates commissioned pieces. He can be found on Facebook. Thank you, Steve. Michelle recently posted one of his pieces on our group page. Swing by our group page, give us a like, and check it out. It is phenomenal. Our intro and outro is courtesy of Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Stream on any platform, and you can find Dr. Snick on Facebook and Instagram, as well as search him when you're creating your stories. His music clips can also be found there. Lastly, and again for the fourth time, kindly give us a like if you're watching Facebook. Hit like if you're watching YouTube. Smash it. Subscribe, share with your friends and family. Thank you.
Okay, and we are back, and we have a comment.
Oh, glasses.
Wake up, Amelia.
I'm blind. I'm blind. Been blind since 40. Okay, global student. Oh, I love this. Yes. I've heard priests say believers are sometimes sent to do his will, unaware of being sent, and to do what exactly? Unknown. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that.
So again, we end up as investigators in the field. You become, I guess, the counselor. You become the person who holds the weight. You become the person, who's guiding them. In your case, you are the person of faith that they're putting everything hinges on you. So aside from, you do a prayer and a blessing every day, what do you do when you know you're going to potentially end up in a situation, or you don't know 100% till you get there, right? When you're getting into a house, you just know what they tell you. You get a sense because you can pick up things as you go along. They're always there to let you know, I'm here. We've all had the stories where, getting a knock on the bedside table. My case, I grab my purse and I say, I'll see you in a while. And I walk out the door. That's it. Don't show fear, even though you may feel it. It's something that my grandfather had always taught me, as seers. It's just something that's been around, and never show fear. What do you do to prepare? Because you do feel that sense of anxiety and fear.
I a lot of praying, I try to stay as close to a perfect state of grace, and there's no way to do that, but I try to stay as close to a perfect state of grace as I can. So before I even go on this case or this location, I go to confession. I go to mass, receive communion, then come home, and I may, if it's a couple of days away, I make sure those 2 days leading up to me going, I say mass here in the home, receive communion. And then I just try and not do the things that that they are, or I should say this, I try to do the things that I know the demonic are incapable of, which is humility. They can't be humble. Don't be prideful. That's all that they're all about that. Don't have any hate my heart for nothing. Because they're all hate. The level, I don't think there is a word known to man that can adequately describe the level of hatred the demonic have for humans. It's beyond hate. In any terminology that you can think of, it's beyond that. Yeah. So you just try and not have any of that stuff, but a lot of prayer, no fear, be strong in your faith, and just and believe that you've got people.
Your mindset.
Yeah.
Get your mind right.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone into a location where you figured it was going to be one thing and it ended up being something entirely different? Meaning, okay, I think something's here. Maybe your feelings like, yeah, it doesn't sound like it's the typical infestation or oppression, but yet you walk in, it's like you get blindsided.
I am the first to admit, I know I've been fooled many times.
Okay, that's interesting.
You know, many times I'm sure I've gone in, a holy water bottle's ablazing, thinking I'm ready to, you know.
Sorry. I love that. And forever went free in my head.
And it's just, you know, Aunt Betty decided not to move on because she lived her whole life.
Right.
House, built it, loves the family, wants to see the kids go to college. So she's floating around in the attic, but she's
saying, I'm here, I'm watching you.
Right.
But then there's times where I've gone in there thinking that it was just, you know, a disgruntled, disembodied human spirit, or Aunt Betty or Uncle Tom, and I got to let them know you're freaking the family out. I never advise people to make deals, but I tell them, listen, this was your home once. You eventually you're of the ages now. You eventually got to go to the light. But if you're going to stay here for a little bit, don't freak the family out. They love you, and you're not. It's just not your head floating around and you're waving chains.
Right.
But just the fact that they see you and they know you're dead is freaking the family out. So knock it off. Hang out here in the attic, you know, float around, but don't, you're freaking them out by showing yourself to them. But you can hang out and watch film, but eventually, and then I go home and I do a lot of praying to my guardian angel to talk to all his buddies and get angels over there to escort this spirit to where it's got to go, because I can't do it. But yeah, I've been fooled many times. In fact, that very first case that something there followed my wife and I home, I should have known better, but I didn't. You know, I'm just a Ghostbuster. I didn't know any better. When the woman was telling me that I'm being raped by something I can't see in the middle of the night, and my husband watches it, when he tries to intervene and help me, he comes under attack. And like I said, so he gets like thrown around and beat up. No, he was getting raped too.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Kind of like
and then
the film. Yeah.
And then she said it would start happening to her in the shower. They might be on the couch, arms around each other, watching a movie, and it'll happen then. Happened to her out on the patio having a cigarette. So things were bad. But when my wife just bought me this beautiful, brand new, I was at the stage where every new gadget I saw on TV, I would say, listen, we don't have to go to the pub for a month, and we don't have to go get pizza this week or next week, but can you buy me that camera? So finally, got all the credit cards taken away. I don't even get an allowance. She handles all the money, but she just bought me this brand new, like a full spectrum, high def video camera, and I couldn't wait to use it at this house.
Right.
So I'm more concerned about using this gadget and have Sharon taking pictures of me using it than I am helping this girl. So I didn't take it serious. I didn't know. I just figured, I don't know what I figured. They were newlyweds. I go into this house and you got the viewfinder out, and I'm looking at everything that my camera's seeing on this viewfinder, and I'm panning through this living room, and I see what appears, I've never seen an angel. The 2 times I've seen my guardian angel, she looks like Susan Sarandon from like early Rocky Horror Picture Time.
Right.
And I've seen her twice. Both times she saved my life. And she may appear as her, and I don't know if angels have gender, but the 2 times I saw her, that's what she looked like. But this looks like the classic angel. It looks like a glowing silhouette of a figure with maybe some wings, glowing, but I can't see it with my eyes, but it's on my viewfinder. I decide to walk through it. So I walk through it, and it's all of a sudden like I'm catapulted to like high altitude. My ears are like popping, and there's pressure on my head, and it sounded like somebody snapping their fingers loud in my ear. And I'm going, that was really weird. I turn around, I don't see anything. It's still on my viewfinder. So I decided I'm going to walk through it again. I walk through it. This time it's like I felt a rush of air go inside, And then it was like a vacuum. It sucked everything out of me, and I had no air. And I was like in this bubble where like it felt like time had stopped and I couldn't breathe. And then all of a sudden I could catch my breath again, but my camera blew up. My brand new camera blew up. It's actually smoking. Sharon was in the other room and could hear the camera blow up. She walks in, sees the camera smoking. What'd you do? I told you to look at the owner's manual on how to use it before you took it out. I read the owner's manual. I didn't do nothing. I just walked through this thing, and the camera blew up. Give it here. She tries to get it to work. The camera's like smoking.
It's toast.
She even eventually took it back to the place where she bought it, and the guy said, "Was this in a fire?" She's all, "No, it's just my husband was using it, and the thing just malfunctioned." So she was able to get a new camera, but I should have known better, and that's where I was fooled. I thought, well, there's an angelic being here. Well, that wasn't an angelic being, but it appeared to me as an angelic being.
So you put your guard down, perhaps.
So I got fooled. And so I remember the reason why I stopped investigating that night there was like my EMF detector said it was 200 degrees in there. And next thing I know, it was like minus 30 degrees. My everything was shutting off, batteries draining, weird things. But we were holding like a seance, conjuring this thing with a Ouija board at the table. It was just my wife and I at the table. The couple are on the couch across the living room, sitting watching us. And all of a sudden, it sounded like somebody behind the wall smacked it with a bat. And the couple actually launched in the air and sat back down. And I said, everybody heard that, right? And then the Ouija board started working on its own. We all audibly heard, leave, get out. So I, being not really knowing what to do next and being a little scared, I said, tell you what we're going to do. Things seem to be amping up here, and I don't want things to get so bad that, things happen that I can't handle. Let's everybody calm down. It's late. You guys try to get a good night's sleep. We're going to, whatever we're doing here, I think I'm making it worse. We're going to stop. So we're driving home. It's about 3:00 in the morning, and my wife's phone starts ringing. And I said, well, you better answer. It might be the client. She goes, I've got caller ID, but there's no number on there. You want me to still answer? And here's another. I don't know if this was a bad or
stuff like that happens. So I'm with you.
I said, answer it. She answers it. There's nobody there. I don't know if that was letting it in. I don't know. But we get home, and that very night, we both in the home, we started experiencing what eventually escalated to a lot of badness here for about 2 months. And my wife was constantly under attack. We couldn't sleep in the master bedroom any longer. We had a water main in the wall burst, and it flooded us out of half the home. I couldn't even go outside because blackbirds I'd never seen in southern Nevada were now on my roof, dive bombing me as I'm in my yard.
That's one all of a sudden.
I hear kids playing in my garage, and there's a lot of kids in my neighborhood at the time. And I thought, I left my garage door open, and there's a kid in there. Some kids playing in there, so I'm going to scare them. I opened the garage door to scare them. The door in my kitchen that leads to the garage door shut. There's no kids in my living room. Later on, I hear the kids again. I'm like, these kids have gotten into my garage. I go in there. There is this massive swarm of bees.
Oh.
So I calmly shut the door and I go, you got to be kidding me. I can't afford a bee dude. What am I going to do? So I came up with the brilliant idea, and it didn't come right to me. I had to do some thinking. I thought of, well, I'm going to make myself some kind of makeshift bee suit, and I'm going to go out into the garage really slowly, and I'm going to walk over to the garage door, and ever so easily I'm going to unlatch it. Then I'm going to walk back into the house real slowly, go in there, shut the door. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to very slowly open the garage door. Then I'm going to slowly walk back in the house and wait a couple hours to see what happened. It went off like a charm. And I went back out there a couple hours later. The bees were all gone. But these things can manipulate environment. So I've been fooled. And there's no shame in cutting clients loose if you feel that that's where you're at. If the next step is you're going to make something worse, There's no shame in cutting clients loose. There's no shame in telling this was a big don't at one time, but I don't believe there's any shame nowadays in telling people, I think you should move. I think there's something attached to the land here, and it's not going anywhere. And
different if it's
what's the flip side of the flip side of this story is if you don't leave, something probably really bad is going to happen. You might want to go. I hate doing that, but you got to sometimes. So I think I've been fooled, and that's something that you got to be. There's no shame. There's no shame in leaving something. I've many times, like when I had my really vicious attack. It was just me and the client there. I didn't bring Sharon because she was suffering at the time. The lady took her daughter who had Down syndrome, and she was waking up in the middle of the night and sitting in the pitch dark watching TV that wasn't on. And when the mother would say, honey, what's wrong? Why are you doing this every night? She wasn't sleepwalking. She said, well, Grandma woke me up. Grandma's protecting me from the man with no face. So she started thinking there was something weird there. So the night that I went there, she sent the daughter to her sister's home to stay the night. So the girl's sitting on the couch, and it's all pitch black, and I've got a night vision camera on, and I can see at the end of the hallway, in the doorway of the master bedroom, what appears to be like a little swirling black tornado. Before I could even think to myself, that looks like a swirling black tornado. Next thing I know, it feels like two giant hands have grabbed me, squeezing the very life out of me and bending me backwards and lifting me in the air. Was all this happening? I don't know. That's what it felt like. Excruciating pain. I couldn't even call for help. I'm thinking the girl's right there and can see this happening to me, but maybe she couldn't see because we were in the pitch black, or she couldn't hear me, or she could see. Maybe she was freaked out. I don't know. I don't know how much time passed. I estimate about an hour, but I'm at the end of the hall and I wake up. I do remember the smells, and I do remember smells like you'll never forget, that you've never smelled before, and you never will smell
It's
again.
like death.
And I do remember hearing like cries and moans and stuff, but I remember hearing a voice tell me, pray, dummy, pray. And I don't know, my mentor at the time said that she might have astral projected herself to me because she sensed I was in danger because I told her where I was going. She was in Oklahoma. But I still think it was my guardian angel, but I just didn't see her this time. But I thought it was her. But I hear this voice say, pray, dummy, pray. So
I was going to say, does your guardian angel like you? Dummy. All right.
Mine drinks.
That's probably why I wouldn't paid attention to it.
Right.
She or he knows me well enough to know that would get my pray, dummy, pray. How simple is that? Pray. The only prayer I could think to pray was the Our Father, and I probably said it 50 times. But I wake up, all of a sudden everything stops, and I'm on my back on the bed in the master bedroom, staring at the ceiling. And I lay there for a little bit. I'm like, last thing I do, what's your last memory, Shawn? Okay, the last memory was I'm at the other end of the house at the beginning of the hallway when I assume I was attacked. How did I get in here? And what's going on with the client? What's going on? I go to sit up. I know this is going to be big time TMI, but I go to sit up in the bed and I realize I had defecated and urinated in my pants. And I hadn't done that since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I was really, so here I am after everything that I've gone through. I'm more embarrassed than anything. Like, what is going on here? I had a jacket on that I took off because it was like an icebox in that home, which was another red flag to me. The demonic was present. So I take this jacket off and I tie it around my waist because I'm embarrassed. I know you can see what I've done.
Right.
And I can't stay. I'm too embarrassed to stay. And I'm also scared.
Right.
What's going on with Sharon? This has never happened to me before.
Right.
So I excuse the client is on the couch still, hadn't moved. Later on, we talked and I said, she goes, no, I saw you walking towards the hallway and then you were gone. And you were gone for like an hour and a half. I just figured I would just wait until you came back out and we're done. what happened? I'm going, well, I lied to her and said it was a quiet night. I have no evidence. I was just probably dozed off and it's dark
Mm-hmm.
here, it's late. I'm tired, probably dozed off, but I'm going to go home and review evidence. I'll get back to you. And I did eventually get back to her and told her what happened. And she said, I couldn't even, you were different. You were off your game. I could tell. But she said, I told her what happened to me. She said, I didn't really smell anything or see anything, but, you wanted to get out of there in a hurry. So I've talked to colleagues about that all the time. And they say, well, something so horrific got down into your being,
right.
the essence of your being, your soul, and you probably passed away. And that's when you let everything go. And it was only through divine intervention that you were able, with the help of your guardian angel, bring yourself back with this prayer and your faith. So you just got to be really, 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 really careful. And so that's when I left the field again. I was done.
Right.
I said, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I mean, my wife's dying. Right. I almost died.
Right. And yet here you are.
Yeah. But sometimes it's that feeling of I'm here trying to help them. I can't do anything. And I'm not spending time with someone who isn't going to be here. It's like, how do you
prioritize?
Yeah, it's really tough.
I had team members that were leaving the group because they had come under attack. They didn't want to investigate with me any longer. It was a bad time.
You're a human being. You said it right. You're a human being.
Yeah.
And you have loved ones. And, this isn't for everyone. It's not something to be taken lightly. You have a life. You have to also live it. It can't always be about the calling. You do what you can, but you can also do that just through working with people, verbalizing and just being there to support them and allocating them to the people who are like, yeah, I'm ready. I'll do it. All right. You have fun with that, cowboy.
I can't tell you how many times every day somebody reaches out to me and say, hi, I wanted to talk to you. I want to be an exorcist. How do I go about doing that? And I don't want to hurt. I don't want to insult them or hurt their feelings or lose a fan. But how do you tell them? It's the same as if somebody calling me and saying I'm possessed. I know they're not. Right. Somebody calls me and says I want to be an exorcist. No, you don't. I wake up today. I did it this morning. Every day to this day, I wake up every morning and pray that I don't have to take authority over another exorcism again in my life, because at that point, it's very ugly. It's very scary. There's lives at stake, and it's just not good. And a person that says that to me, I know they saw the show, or they saw another TV show, or they think it just sounds like it would be really cool. They saw the what was it, the Pope's Exorcist or this movie, and they want to do that. And I just and I know nothing that I can say. Anything I say is going to make me seem like I think I'm too good. You don't want, you're not cut out for it, pal. Take a walk. I don't want to do that because that's not me either. But
but I always try to understand when people say, oh, you're so lucky. First, I don't believe in luck. We had this conversation yesterday, but you're so lucky because you have this gift and you can. I'm like, luck? Are you kidding me? It's a battle every single day on which way I'm going to move. Am I going to be here for my family, or is something going to happen and Michelle and I have to take care of it? Because when there's children and dogs, that's a huge priority for us. So it's really tough. And when my daughter had her kidney transplant, I took time off, and I was constantly bothered, not by people, by things. Without Michelle, I wouldn't have been able to get through that time because she had my back the whole time. And
that's a tough one. Thinking
people
about
don't realize, like when it's something like what she was going through, she needs me, and to this day, like if she needs me, I'm there
it's the weak.
But it's hard.
That was a smart thing to do because it's the weak that they go after.
Yeah,
and it's the people you least expect it.
I always feel bad, and you always tell me that it's better you don't go in there.
It's true. Remind me to tell you the story about my daughter on the show tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, yes. Tomorrow.
I don't know if I've told it, but remind me. I'll tell you.
He's got it right now.
No, because she was.
I still got going in holy water
she
blazing.
Was absolutely.
She was I feel like that sometimes. I want to get there so bad and help that I feel like
exorcists.
I'm, running in there, and I should have belts on full of bottles and just.
Well, it's like the Clint Eastwood of exorcists, right? Go ahead, make my day.
We're at the top of the hour. It is that time. So tell everybody where to find you, when to find you there, what you have coming up.
When can we have you back on?
I'll come on anytime you guys want me. You know me. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I hate to say no. I always try my best to bend over backwards and make time for everybody. So anytime you want me back, I'll come back. I'm so looking forward to tomorrow night. That's going to be fun. Now I get to ask you guys questions tomorrow night. And that's another one that I just added to the list. Michelle's daughter. Okay. And what do I want to tell people? The church I belong to, we accept everybody. We don't judge. The priests can be married. We ordain women to the priesthood. We're very supportive over the LGBTQ community. We don't judge. We welcome everybody. If somebody's looking for a church like that, you can go to usocc.org or bishopjameslong.com. You'll find the links to night prayer there, which is every weeknight. You'll find links to Bible study, which we do twice a week. This is how people can help. If they really want to help me, this is how you can help. I'm retired. My wife's the only one bringing home a steady paycheck. She's an office manager at an animal hospital. We do a retreat once a year. I've got to fly to Illinois. And we're ordaining our abbot and Reverend Mother, they're both members of our church. We're ordaining them to be bishops. It's a big event. My presence is required, but I got to come up with round trip airfare, rental car money, my room and board while I'm there at the retreat for 4 days. So if somebody wants to help out, you can go to my website, www.ghost-B-Gone.biz. There's a donate button, and if you're able to click on it and send in a small donation, I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of my heart, and I'll put it to good use. It'll go right into the Get My Fat Butt to Illinois next April fund. And but I've got books on there. If you buy my books off of the website, I autograph them because they leave my office. They arrive to you in a house blessing kit. You can get them a little less expensive at Amazon, but if you buy them off the website, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of every book goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Nevada, and the ASPCA. So you get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. And I can be found now on Facebook as Lawrence Morais, which is a stage name because my original profile, which I had probably over 5,000 friends, and I talked to everybody, so I considered everybody a friend. It got hacked, and then it got deactivated. So I decided to use Lawrence Morais. Lawrence was my father's first name. Morais was my mother's maiden name. So it's a tribute to them. But my name's on there too. But if people are looking for me, that's where you can find me. And the show tomorrow night, you guys are my guests, is Father Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live. It's on Facebook Live and YouTube. And I can't wait to have you two on tomorrow night. That show's going to rock.
Oh, it's going to rock. I'm looking forward to it.
Just a little heads up, because you messaged me and you forgot to tell me that you changed your name. So I'm looking at this name and he's like, I haven't heard back. Are you doing the show? And I'm like,
I can tell.
Let me get back to, let me talk to Michelle, because
he's like, who is this?
Yeah, because she gets a lot more messages than I do. So I'll see them and I'm like,
oh, that's what, well, I got you guys.
She's like, we're on Shawn Whittington's show, Father Shawn. And I'm like, but this is Lawrence Maurice. Like I'm trying to figure out who this is. Then it went, oh, okay.
I didn't want to go Shawn Whittington again because I was all panicky about my other profile getting hacked. I'm like, well, you can't go back on a Shawn Whittington. So it's Lawrence Morais, then in parentheses, Father Shawn Whittington. Yeah. So
I just some advice.
I'm going to, I already told my producer, Michelle, he's going to email you your StreamYard link to the Outer Realm theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com, and you
Wherever
can forward
you're
that link.
communicating with me on, yeah.
You
Okay.
can forward that to Amelia, but I'm also, to play it safe, I'm personally going to forward the link to both of you on Facebook and Messenger to your personal profiles as a backup plan.
Sounds good.
And we go live tomorrow at 2. But if you want to check
It's
in
5
about 10
p.m.
minutes early,
Eastern.
we'll do a video and audio check. And it's
Sure.
only the hour flies by. I know it's not long enough to have you two on, so I'm already going to warn you ahead of time. I'm going to beg you both to come back. But I can't wait for tomorrow. It's going to rock. And
I think it's
all my friends can't wait.
It's going to
see
be
you guys.
great.
If you talk to Bishop James anytime soon, please let him know he's in my thoughts and my prayers. His sister passed away.
Oh, yep.
And I don't want to bother him.
Oh, please. He would love that. Please do.
I messaged him, but I know he's really busy. You can ask me about his demonology course tomorrow, and I can tell you the story on that. Wow. But I've known him for a long time. We've been friends, but yeah.
He's a great guy. He was the one that actually ordained me to the priesthood. He's got apostolic. Not everybody walking around with one of these has something we call apostolic succession, which means the day that God came down at the Pentecost and entered as the Holy Spirit and all the apostles, he told them how to continue passing the Holy Spirit on to everyone else they wanted to do so with by the laying on of hands. And since that day, every time any one of them laid hands on somebody to ordain them, they kept records of that. It's called apostolic succession. His apostolic succession dates back, he's got documentation that dates back to St. Peter. Yeah. And I will soon be getting that same documentation because he laid hands on me.
Oh, isn't that incredible?
Ordained me. Yeah, it's pretty. Yes. It's too heavy for me to even, when I really start contemplating it, I feel like
humbling.
I feel like what's next, because I'm not, I don't feel like I'm even really worthy. That's the big thing. You're like,
but that's the best way to feel, because that's when you try the hardest, is when you don't feel that you have to stay humble. That's all Michelle tells me all the time.
Absolutely.
Always say,
turn the other cheek too. I know it's hard. Turn the other cheek.
I do have to sign off, or I'm going to be in trouble.
Okay. So, I love you both. God bless you.
Too.
Tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow night.
Bye-bye. Good night. Well, everyone, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Big thank you to Father Shawn Whittington. Check us out on his show. Tomorrow will be awesome, without a doubt. Wednesday night, we're going to be welcoming for the first time Tubi, that's his name, Tubi Wells, who's going to be sharing his ET experiences with us. He's been documenting them for quite some time now. So he's got a little bit of stuff in store for us. He's going to be very new for the Outer Realm. So that's going to be again on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we're going to be bringing in, again, this is, mind you, this is going to be a rerun, guys, but of what we like to call, sort of like the Wayback File, because these were some of our first guests. So Toby Johnson and Britt Eichenberger, who's going to be discussing their film, A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed. And I think you guys can go check that out. It was a fantastic interview. People really loved it. And we were just so grateful to have them on. 4th of July, right? So there we go. Rerun night, and we will do our best to be in chat. So without further ado, it is time to bid you good night, as we are way up there. But guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Good night.